Gwenton Sloley, budding politician. Yes. You're back in the ring again in Lewisham, fighting for election. Which ward are you in?
New Cross.
And you've got a clear manifesto?
Yeah.
Tell us about your manifesto.
So first thing we're going to be looking at is the reduction in air pollution down there.
Right.
Try and get a hand on that because it's so dangerous where we've got young girls dying on the way to school. So something needs to be done. They've got new blocks being built, skyscrapers at some ridiculous heights, blocking out the natural sunlight and also not allowed to open their windows because of the dangerous air coming in. So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at. Affordable housing as well. What does
because New Cross has got a major road, hasn't it? And it's one of the worst polluted roads in London. So that means anybody that's living on either side of that road is breathing in toxic air. And we already know that respiratory disease through toxic pollution has cost people's lives, literally.
Especially within the COVID season, what we've seen and the lockdown, a lot of people have died because of infected air that is no fault of their own, just because they've lived in the area.
Okay. So, and they're building high-rise flats. Are these private flats or?
Most of them are unaffordable housing.
So it's gentrification.
Yeah. So a lot of the normal residents will not even have access to even start a conversation to put their name on the list because it's unaffordable housing.
And I assume that New Cross, like everywhere else, that people on the waiting list are just hundreds of people, families waiting for decent housing.
And what that then results in is overcrowding. So you see families on lengthy waiting lists for years on end, and then before you know it, it's then young people getting caught up in stuff because their family is sending them outside just to get a break from the trampling over each other in the house.
Because what that overcrowding does, build pressure in the house, doesn't it? And when you're poor and you've got big families in small accommodation, that psychological and emotional pressure in the house can just build, particularly when you've got, rambunctious teenagers who want to flex and get out and so on. They've got nowhere to grow and nowhere to go. So hassle in the house and hassle on the street when they get out there because of the policing.
And also as well, there's no gardens for these young people. If you're living in a block of flats, the most you might have is a balcony. So there's no green area for at least a mile or two.
That's right.
Where they're living. So when the young people are then traveling across the road just to go and play on some grass, they're crossing into another person's territory, which is different problems again.
So that's the street violence. So they're prisoners in their home, and the streets are not safe for them to relax and play on. What are you going to do? What's your agenda for tackling that?
What I've seen recently from working in the borough for 15 years, what has reduced the crime in the area is projects that work after 5. Projects that work over the weekend. So I'm even going as far as saying some of the money that you get as a councillor, I will put that back into some sort of youth provision that work outside of those normal hours.
So the money that you normally would get paid for being a councillor, what you're saying is you'll create a small community pot for new initiatives that provide out of hours provision for young people. That's amazing.
And then I would then go as far as asking the mayor, Damien Egan, to match whatever we've put there. And that should be at least half the funds to fund something for a year. And also the other MPs within the borough that have got senior roles within government, not only getting £70,000 plus expenses a year, they could surely contribute to something. And then we could slowly start seeing a change. Things like skate parks for young people. A lot of young people are into skating and they're back out skating. That reduces the crime and the fast track into the criminal justice system.
Well, we know, don't we? Because we've seen the BMX track over in Peckham, and that has 40 or 50 young people, and it's produced a couple of Olympic champions as well.
And if we look at that, because I know CK Flash that runs it over there,
Flash.
A lot of the young people are young people that were excluded from school, being entered into the criminal justice system, now diverted, and that whole energy and excitement that they had, they've now challenged that into the BMX,
and makes a big difference.
They've been looked at as actually role models within the community without pretending to be gangsters and getting themselves a criminal record.
So what else is on your agenda?
Next thing on my agenda is unemployment. So with all these skyscrapers being built in the area, why aren't local people being consulted and offered jobs? A lot of people have got their CSCS card ready to go on the construction site. Why isn't it local people building these buildings?
You want a local labour scheme?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting about the local labour scheme is under the European Union, when we're in the EU, that was illegal.
Yeah.
Now you're out of the European Union, the council has every right to say to local developers, you can build it, but you have to employ local people to build it. That's what a local labour scheme is. So you could pioneer something like that in your ward and in the council to say anything gets built here gets built by local people.
And it's also making the community bond again. We've had a total destruction of the community being divided, whether it's by class, race, whatever it might be. And this whole one party state where all the councillors are Labour, some of them are actually nice people, but because of them following whatever the narrative is at the time, they're not able to actually say what they feel. So having an alternative voice is actually bringing back democracy within the area. And
so you think by standing as independent, it gives you the room to say what needs to be said and put forward the kind of radical initiatives that the borough needs?
Definitely, and it's not about me as a person, because if by me running, someone else is then empowered to then run, and they might have the ear of the community, and they get in, at least we've started something. But this one party state needs to stop. So my appeal will be to everyone living in the New Cross area, it's time for change. And enough of the complaining, make your vote count. If you've got young people in the home that are over 18, it takes them 5 minutes to register. And it's also empowering the young people to show that we don't need to complain. We could go out and have our voices heard. So you've got someone alternative to vote for, let's not waste your vote. And for the people that don't normally vote, please come out and vote, and you can hold me accountable. Thank you very much.